Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Miss Stratton. Today we are going to be looking at meiosis. Now, meiosis is a type of cell division. This is the division of sex cells. So, in the past, we have looked at mitosis. Now, mitosis is the division of somatic cells, or just cells in your body. So, somatic cells are bone cells, muscle cells, skin cells, brain cells, blood cells. Those all go through mitosis, but that's not what we're looking at today. Today we're going to be looking at meiosis, which is the type of cell division by which gametes are produced. And gametes is just another term for eggs and sperm. So with meiosis, we have one parent cell producing four unique daughter cells. When we looked at mitosis before, we had one parent cell that was creating two identical daughter cells. Here, we're producing something that's unique. Daughter cells have half the number of chromosomes found in the original parent cell. So these are not identical because they don't have the same amount of genetic material as their original parent cell. Because we're going to be passing those chromosomes on, and when we go through sexual reproduction, we only have to have half of the DNA needed, or half of the chromosomes needed for a complete set. So there are some terms we need to know before we get too far into meiosis. The first term we're going to look at is diploid, and that just means we have two complete sets of chromosomes. Sometimes you'll see that notated as 2N, and then haploid just means that we have one set of chromosomes, and sometimes you'll see that notated as 1N. Diploid means, so with diploid, you can remember it because di is a prefix that means two, and haploid is just one set of chromosomes. Another important term you need to know is homologous. I know that's kind of a funny looking term, but it's homologous. So chromosomes that each have a corresponding chromosome from the opposite sex parent. So homologous chromosomes are going to have the same type of information on them. So homologous chromosomes both chromosomes would have information about hair color or height or nose shape, for example. So they're going to have the same type of information, even if mom or dad have different variations of that gene. Mom may have red hair, dad may have black hair, but they're still going to, those chromosomes are still going to match up and do a homologous pair. Now, there are more than one type of reproduction. A reproduction is just how an organism produces others of its same kind, and there are two types. So asexual reproduction is just how an organism is produced from one organism. This can be a simple organism that's doing this, or this can just be like the cells in your body. Mitosis is an example of asexual reproduction. If you have a cut on your arm and your body repairs itself, your body is going through asexual reproduction through mitosis to repair that. Now, sexual reproduction is when two sex cells come together to create a new, unique organism. And so, human babies are produced through sexual reproduction. Kittens are produced through sexual reproduction. But there are some really simple organisms that don't go through sexual reproduction to create offspring. They just create copies of themselves. And that would be asexual reproduction. So, the process of sperm and egg joining is called fertilization. And the cell that is created when a sperm and egg combine is called a zygote. Zygote, zygote. And that's just that single cell that you started out as. And that single cell is going to go on to divide billions of times to create a fully formed human baby. Now, meiosis happens in two distinct stages. We have meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And you're going to look at meiosis and think that it really doesn't look all that different from mitosis, and it's because it's not that different. You're going to see a lot of the same terms you've seen before. You're going to see a lot of the same chromosome motion you've seen before, but there are a few crucial differences in meiosis, and we're going to go ahead and talk about those. So in prophase 1, chromosomes pair with its corresponding homologous chromosome. So you get a chromosome from mom. Well, so you have a chromosome that has hair color, and it's going to match up with the other chromosome for hair color. And we have that pairing up, and it's really, really important for that to happen in meiosis. That way, all of the sex cells that are produced from this get the information that they need. So we don't wind up with some cells that have double information for hair color but no information for height. And in prophase 1, something really important called crossing over happens. And crossing over is just when chromosomes overlap and exchange portions of their chromatids. If you remember back to when we talked about mitosis, a chromatid is just one half of a full chromosome. So we mix up parts of our chromosomes and create unique chromosomes that don't look exactly like mom's or don't exactly look like the parent, but it still has the same types of information. And so you're going to see here in prophase 1, we have these chromosomes that have coiled up. So we have that chromatin that's curled up into our chromosomes, and our homologous pairs are coming together. Now in metaphase 1, the pairs of duplicated chromosomes line up in the middle of the cell. I'm sure you remember from mitosis that in metaphase means middle, and in metaphase, our chromosomes line up in the middle of the cell and the spindle fibers attached. The same thing is going to happen in metaphase 1. So see, we have our pairs lining up together. It's really important that our pairs are together, not just in a straight line. So we have our smaller pair, and over here we have our larger pair, and they are lined up with those spindle fibers attached. Then we go on into anaphase 1, and that fibers pull the homologous chromosomes toward the opposite ends of the cell. That way, both cells are going to have information from those homologous pairs. That way, each cell has the information that it needs. So you see here where the pairs are being separated, those chromosomes are being pulled to the poles by spindle fibers. Then we have telophase 1 and cytokinesis. So we are starting to form two completely separate cells. The nuclear membrane is forming around those chromosomes, and we are going to be moving out of meiosis 1. So you can see here where we have our two individual cells forming, our nucleus starts to form, and then we will have two cells. So now we are going to go into meiosis 2, which, guys, looks almost exactly like mitosis, but it's happening in two cells at the same time. So prophase 2, meiosis 1 results in two haploid cells. Now remember, haploid is half. They only have half the chromosomes their original parent had. So here we have, remember we started off in a cell that had 4 chromosomes in it. Now we have two cells that have two chromosomes each. This is just an example. Obviously, cells can have lots of different numbers of chromosomes based on the organism they are a part of. Then we're going to go into metaphase 2, and just like metaphase of mitosis, we have our chromosomes lining up in the middle of the cell, and those spindle fibers are attached so that we can move into anaphase 2. The sister chromatids in anaphase 2 separate and move to opposite ends of the cell, and we see how those chromosomes are being pulled apart into their sister chromatids. And then finally, we go into telophase 2. With telophase 2, meiosis 2 is going to result in 4 haploid sperm or egg cells. So now at the end of meiosis 2, we are going to have 4 unique haploid cells. See, we see here that we have these cells, and they are nearly to cytokinesis, where they will be their own complete unique cell. Now, this is something you may not know that I didn't know before I started teaching this, actually, that in males, we actually wind up with 4 sperm cells, fully functional sperm cells. But in females, we actually only get 1 usable egg cell, and we wind up with 3 other cells that are called polar bodies, which aren't useful in reproduction. So we're really only getting one thing that's useful out of meiosis for females. And here's just a little chart that is comparing the two types of cell division. Mitosis gives us two diploid cells. The cells are genetically identical, and it only happens in somatic or body cells. But then meiosis has 4 haploid cells. They're genetically different, and it only happens in sex cells. Well, guys, I know that was a lot of information. Don't worry, we'll continue to review meiosis in the coming days. So don't forget to complete your note taker. Make sure you write a summary at the end, and I will see you later.